I think S plus is perfect. I think I feel great about S plus the most. Raiden, so many good team comps. Very powerful. The strongest what is it, DPS that can like buff the team. Usable at C0. Usable like is even stronger with constellations. Great free to play weapons. Good in international. You can play EM Raiden. You can play Overload Raiden. You can play Hyper Carry Raiden. You can play Hyper Bloom Raiden. You can play Hydro Supremacy Raiden. There are so many good Raiden teams, and as bursts get better, she gets better. Insane. Furina, meta changer, insane. One of the strongest buffs in the game. Super strong DPS. Like, she's pushed up other people in this list because of how good she is. Yelan, super insane. So much power. So much damage, so much good application. Hydra is one of the best sub DPS elements. Insane. Xingqiu, very similar. These two are very interchangeable. Xingqiu has a bit faster application. He's a bit more defensive. He has a little bit of healing. But still, same thing. Hydra application is powerful. Their damage is powerful. He can fit onto a bunch of teams. Very universal, very easy to use, very free to play. Insane. Bennett, same thing, super universal, can buff so many people in this game. Very easy to use. One of the best skills in the game in terms of energy recharge. Very flexible, very easy to use. Just build recharge, maybe a little bit of HP. Super insane buff, crazy. Kazuha, absolutely ridiculous. Gathering is on point. An ammo is one of the best elements in the game. Can apply it to so much, to so many people. The best gathering in the game. Like the really bad part about Kazuha is like maybe sometimes like some other choices might be better, but it's never a bad choice to go Kazuha. It's never a bad choice to go your boy Kazuha, and he has some nice buffing weapons too to help the team. A little bit harder to build, than some of the other ones, but not too bad. Nahida, insane. Dendro is one of the most insane elements, and Nahida makes it more insane. Insanely strong debuff, insanely strong sub DPS. You can also just make her an EM buffer if you want to. You have that choice. It's super insane, super powerful. Neuvillette, the only DPS only character in S plus because he is defining on his own. So free to play. So many teams. Some of the most teams, I would say, actually. Some of the most viable teams in this game. You can play Freeze Neuvillette. You can play Vaporize Neuvillette. You can play Hyperbloom Neuvillette. You can play sub DPS, like just a bunch of sub DPS with Neuvillette. It doesn't matter what reaction you're doing. He scales with HP. He ascends with critical rate. So easy to build. His strongest weapon is a healer weapon for other characters. Prototype Amber. Like, insane. Absolutely insane. Neuvillette was a mistake. He's insane. Ridiculous. The Zhongli Dongle. I think depending on what you're asking, he can be down here for sure. Universal Shred to everything, including Dendro. I skipped Xiangling. We'll come back. Universal Shred, including Dendro. The strongest shield in the game. Very nice super armor. Your combos will not be interrupted. Very easy to use. Very nice to play. The issue that Zhongli has is that there are better people you can take than Zhongli. Like, there's no issues with Zhongli. It's just that you might get more power from other characters. Counts Dendro? Yes. Yes, he shreds everything, including Dendro. I think he and what's the set called? Deepwood. It's Zhongli and Deepwood are the only things that shred Dendro. Nothing else can shred Dendro, I think. And maybe some constellations can. But in generic terms, only Deepwood and Zhongli can shred Dendro. Nahida C2. There you go. Nahida C2. Thank you. But the reason why he would be not here but here is because so many people use him. Because this list is asking the question in terms of how many people are using these characters in terms of their usability, right? It's going based on usability. That's why he's a lot higher up here. Oh, is it not Nahida C2? Whatever. I think there's a constellation that has it. I just don't know which one. Also, what's up, Melanchi? Xiangling. Xiangling is insane. She has a lot of damage. She has no internal cooldown on her Pyro application. Pyro is really freaking good. She's really, really, really strong. The only issue that she has and why she might be here in some days is because it is really hard to build her. She's the arguably the hardest character to build in this entire game. She's the hardest character to build in this game. You need criticals, EM, attack, and recharge most importantly. Pyro Tornado was a mistake. But again, this list is based on what people practically use, and people are always using Xiangling because she is free no matter what. And a lot of people use her. So that's why I'm putting her here for now. Okay, so I feel good about S+. I don't think I'm going to change S+. I don't think anything will go up to S+. I don't think anything will move down past S+. I think S+, lock it in. S+ is locked in. I feel great about it. Okay, S neutral. We got S neutral. Cloud Retainer, Anemo, strongest element in the game. She can use Catalyst like Dragon Slayer. She buffs plunging damage. She can heal for the team. She has a team heal, meaning that she makes Furina better. So, insanely good. And you got that plunging thing, which boosted up other characters. So, S. Navia, very good damage. Got a lot of teams she can use. Made a Geo DPS viable without having to rely on Goru. Yeah, I mean, that's it. She's just really good damage, pretty easy to play. Bada bing, bada boom. Shinobu, one of the best characters to use in Hyper Bloom. Very, very easy to build. Bunch of EM, and that's it. You just put EM on her and level her up to 90. That's it. Super easy to build. You can give her some HP if you want some extra healing, but you don't need to. You don't need to. All you need to give her is EM and level 90. That's it. Insane. Al-Haitham, very powerful. Very, very powerful. Dendro is super strong. He's really strong. You play him in Spread. You play him in Hyper Bloom. Great free-to-play options. Doesn't need a Constellation. Good. He good. He good. He very good. Very good. Ayato, very strong too. Ayato is also very strong. A lot of team comps you can play with Ayato. You can play Ayato in Vaporize. You can play Ayato in Hyper Bloom. You could even do maybe Freeze Ayato if you want to. Very, very easy to play. So much range. Good in single target. Good in multi-target. Good against mobs. He is just great. He's the, I think someone said earlier, he's the jack of all trades when it comes to damage. He can be good in any damage situation. Maybe he's not the best in any damage situation, but he is always very good in any. There's nothing restricting him either. Very comfortable to play. Very easy to build. Great free-to-play options. Yeah, he's just good. Mono Hydro, sure. The jack of all trades, but the master of none. Yeah. Yelan and Fischl. I mean, I'll talk about Miko and Fischl because they're very similar together. Very good sub DPS for both of them. Fischl's A4 passive is super good. With proccing things like Aggravate. I think she's the #1 Aggravate person / Spread. Super duper 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 powerful. Damage is great. She gets you recharge for your team. She's a bow user, so you have things like Elgi as options. She's great. The only quote-unquote bad thing about Fischl is that she's the only character without iframes on her burst, but you can cancel it with character switching. Yae Miko, same thing. They're a bit interchangeable. Miko's stronger. She can hit harder than Fischl, but she's a bit more wonky to play. She's more vulnerable when placing her E's. Her burst is not always viable to use. It just might be the best choice in that situation because it can miss, or because you might not have all the turrets out depending on your rotations. But her damage makes up for it. So they're both very good, very good, very good. Fishel's better for Aggravate. Yeah, he's better for Spread. I actually didn't know that. But yeah, they're both really good. Hu Tao. Hu Tao is really strong. Hu Tao is strong. She's got a lot of teams she can use. Hits very hard numbers. She's usually just in Vaporize. But the teammates, she has plenty of variety of teammates, so she's not too restrictive. And she hits very, very, very hard. Yeah, she good. She's very good. Yae Miko, because you can get them more easier and she's C4. That's true. I do not disagree with that. Fischl's not the hardest character to get, though. Sometimes they throw her out pretty often. Baizhu. Baizhu is also Ayato. The jack of all trades, but the master of none. He's got good Dendro application. He's got good healing. He has a shield. It wants to break, so it's not the best shield for shielding purposes, but he has a shield. All these things are good. All these things are powerful. Is he a better applicator than Nahida? No, definitely not. But does like Dendro is still broken. Like Dendro is still super broken, so it's still really good. So yeah, I think this is a perfectly suitable place for him. He's very powerful and very usable. He good, he good, he good. Okay. Moving into the A pluses. We got Sucrose here. Sucrose, Anemo, is great. She has a tiny bit of gathering. She has a lot of EM sharing, which is very nice. She's good on a bunch of teams. Usually you're taking Kazuha instead of her if you have the option of Kazuha, but she's never a bad choice. We got Liney here. Insane damage, absolutely insane damage. You are very restricted to a certain team comp, unfortunately, though. Not the hardest team comp to do, but he's very interruptible, which can be an issue with him. But when he hits hard. When he hits very, very hard. So that's, I think, a suitable place for him being right here. Good old Wriothesley, good cryo damage. Decently easy to play. Not too bad to play the Wriothesley. Bunch of teams he can use. Plenty of teams he can use. You can use Mono Cryo. We can use him in Melt, which is his most popular team. You can use him in Freeze if you want to. You can use him in Hyper Bloom if you want to. He doesn't interrupt Hyper Bloom and he does good personal damage. You can play him in Hyper Bloom if you want to. Not super restrictive, but his C1 is a good question to ask yourself if you want to get or not, which I think holds him back a little bit. There's a lot that C1 locks behind. You can still play him at C0. He's perfectly fine at CO. At C0. But his damage is still great. His damage is still great, and he has a bunch of teams. So, yeah. But he good. Skara's really strong. Anemo DPS is interesting, and it's still very strong. The difficulties with Skara is people do have difficulties with staying alive with Skara. Some people recommend shield. You don't need to take a shield, in my opinion. I've played Skara, Farazan, Bennett, Xiangling for a bunch. You can do it perfectly fine. You can dodge with him. All you gotta do is hit the dash button. You'll be fine. Maybe you might lose some damage, but it's okay. You'll be fine. You can survive. But yeah, you do have that factor. You definitely have that factor. He's good though. He's good. Damage is good. Nemo good. Tartaglia, one of the strongest characters for National. Arguably, I think the strongest National character. But he's a bit difficult to play. You have to be worried about your cooldowns. And National is a popular team, and the components of National are used by a lot of different people. So, that's kind of what puts him here, at least in my opinion, is he has this one really good team that is really easy to build. He's really easy to build, but he can be a little bit difficult to play, and those characters he's using are wanted by other people. Kokomi. She's good healer, and she has good Hydra application, and she has a catalyst, so she can run Dragon Slayer, and those are all good things. That's it. That's it. Jean is a Nemo, and that's good. She can heal the entire team at once, which can auto-stack Furina, and that's good. And that's it. It's all good things. They're all really nice. Okay, cool. I feel good about S. I feel good about A+. I don't think I would bring anybody down or up from S. I don't think I would put anybody down or up from A+. Sucrose, maybe. I don't know. I don't see Sucrose enough. I think Sucrose, I would need to be like, okay, how often are the players using her? I know that she has her very strong components, but Sucrose I feel a maybe about, but I think she's fine here. Easy to build too. Yeah, easy to build too. Okay, Tighnari, very strong. He wants to do spread and aggravate. He can do Hyper Bloom. It's not as good as a spread and aggravate, but he can do it. Very strong against single target. Not the best against multi-target. And he is stuck doing either aggravate or spread if you want to really, really, really use him. But he has a lot of teammates you can use in aggravate and spread, so it's fine. He's chilling. He's strong. He good. Ayaka, also very strong. She got the freeze that she can do. Not everything can be frozen, but her freeze is still really good and still very strong. You can do melt with her. Melt is pretty strong on her, but you can miss with the burst. If you miss with the burst, you missed all your damage, and then you cry. So that could be a bit tough. Also, freeze, they keep kind of nerfing it, quote unquote, by including enemies that can't be frozen or can be frozen for a very short amount of time. Even the enemies that are hydro enemies can't be frozen for more than 1 millisecond. So yeah, take that for what it is. But she's still really good. She's still really good. Nilou. Nilou has one comp. It is a very strong comp. In Natural Bloom. That's all she has is just Natural Bloom. But it is really, really, really strong. But it can get screwed over by Dendro immune enemies like Spectres, which this Abyss has a lot of Spectres, and single target. She kind of suffers pretty hard from single target unless you have certain team comps like the Yelan team comp. She does a little bit better on single target there, but she's still not the best there, so I think that's why I would put her here. I was supposed to be good in Fontaine. So you thought. Yoimiya, very similar to Tighnari in my opinion, she is very strong, but very, very single target. There's a couple different teams you can do now. You got the Overload now. Most people use Vaporize. I guess you could do Melt too. You could do Melt. But the main issue with her is you can't really change how she plays. She's just doing the one combo. You can't do dash interrupts unless something to do with maybe Overload that changes. But the main issue is that single target. That's it. That's all she's doing. She's chilling like that. Okay. Chiori. Chiori might be new toy syndrome. I don't deny that. Chiori might be new toy syndrome. But she hits really hard. She's pretty easy to play. And she's pretty easy to build. Prototype. Was it Harbinger of Dawn? Chill it out. Bada boom, bada bing. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. You're good. You're done. Easy. But it depends where the game goes. I think if the game makes more characters that are beneficial to her, she can stay here. But I think if they keep ignoring Geo like they have until Navia and Chiori came out, I would put her down. But for now, new toy syndrome, she's staying up here. YaoYao. YaoYao good. Dendro is really good. Her application is fine. Her healing is amazing. She can put any artifact set to help the team. She can put any weapon to help the team. You don't need to build a specific stat for her. She is not bound by a stat at all. She is just do whichever you want. She's not as crazy as Baizhu or Nahida, but those are 5 stars. Like, of course she wouldn't be. And yeah, Dendro healing is good. Yeah, she's fine. She's good. Ganyu. Ganyu is fine. That's it. Melt is still good. That's it. Melt is still good. You could do freeze, I guess. You can kind of use her off field as like cryo applicator if you want to. Yeah, she's just fine. There's nothing much else to say. Range is good. The builds are decently varied. Cool. Venti. He is the master of mobs. He's the master of trash mobs. He is the best character at killing trash mobs. He gives good recharge to your team. Swirls are pretty strong. But that's it. He's the master of trash mobs, and then that's it. So cool. I feel good about A. I think I feel good about A overall. I think maybe Chiori might move. I think maybe YaoYao may move, depending. That's about it. Yeah, everything. And maybe Venti might move, depending. But oh, yeah, not that he would move down. But I feel okay about that. Now A minus, I feel the weirdest about. Starting with Ito, I need to think about Ito again, because I do think. So the main reason I put Ito down here is his teams are very restrictive. Mono Geo is a very restrictive type of team.
Begins.
Oh, thanks for the follow. Who followed? Eggplant of Time, thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. Thank you. His teams are very restrictive. This is a viability tier list? Yeah, I guess you could call it that. Or it's like, yeah, what people use, like usability, viability, things like that. Yeah, Ito I feel weird about. Because he is very strict on his team. It's Mono Geo or bust. And so that would mean you auto-include Goru. That means you're auto-including somebody like Zhongli, or Chiori, or Albedo. And that's pretty strict. But he is very strong. He is very, very strong. Maybe A minus now. I would maybe put Venti in A minus. I'm actually gonna put him down there. I'm actually gonna put him down there. Yeah, I'll put him down. Man, I don't know. What's his usability? What's his usability? Let me take a look. 13. 13's pretty good. But this was his Abyss, so that could be boosted. It's a weird one. On the right team, he's going to be bonkers, but it is so restrictive. That's what's... Like, it's so strong. It is so strong, but it's so restrictive. And that's... you're going to include minimum one, like, 5-star Geo with him. And that's pretty restrictive. I don't know. I think even if it is restrictive, he does hit really hard, and he's good single or multi-target. I think there's enough positives that I could bring him up. Because single target or multi-target, he's still killing. Okay, but I think he could be either or. I think he could be either or, depending. I don't know if there's any Ito mains, but they could probably help me, but... He could be either or, but I'm gonna put him here for now. I'm gonna put him here for now. Chiori. Chiori's, the overload build is really freaking strong. It's so strong, it can be competitive with an Amo, which is crazy because an Amo is one of the strongest buffing elements. But her overload teams are very powerful. You have a lot of choices. The only downside with Chevra's is that you might need constellations. Her constellations are very useful, and you might need quite a few, and so I can't put her super high, so I think here is good. When Venti can Venti, nobody else wins, but Venti can't Venti. He just doesn't do anything. Yeah, he doesn't do anything. Yeah, I agree with that. But yeah, Chiori's insane. Chiori. Oh my gosh, my brain turned off. Chevra's. Chevra's is great. Chevra's is great. They made Ito for your quad Geo team without Beta. Yeah. Yeah, so that was the only issue with Ito, is that he's very strong, but very restrictive. Fadazen. Fadazen, don't let people tell you can't play Fadazen without C6. Don't listen to them. Just build more recharge. That's all it is. Fadazen is insane. She buffs an Amo by a lot. She debuffs an Amo resistance by a lot. She is the cornerstone of an Amo DPS team. Is it annoying to build more recharge without C6? Yes, but do it. Is it annoying? Yes, but you must do it. Just do it. Just build her with more recharge. She is ridiculous. She is ridiculously powerful for an Amo DPSs. Very vital to an Amo DPSs. Build her. She's good. She's good. But of course, the C6 is what you ideally want, so I wouldn't put her a bit higher just because of... Ideally, you do want her at C6, which is a restrictive thing. Team of Crimes may be restrictive once build tended to work against almost any Abyss, not many GM. Yeah. I agree with that. That's why I think this is a fair place for it, you know? He does have those positives and negatives, so I think that's a fair place. Goro. Goro is very similar to Fadazen. You ideally want him at C6. Can you use him before C6? Yes. Also, 9 times out of 10, Mono Geo wants him. And I think Mono Geo always wants him. He's the cornerstone of Mono Geo. He's very strong in Mono Geo. Yeah, that's about it. That's about it. Now, Xiao I feel weird about. When you go back, Xiao and Ito I felt weird about. Let me think about Xiao again. So Xiao... He gets buffed a lot by Cloud Retainer. But you don't necessarily need to take Cloud Retainer with him. Fadazen is still really good with him. You can do builds without Cloud Retainer, and he's still pretty strong. He's not insanely strong, though. He's fine in groups. He's fine in single target. I think I don't know. I really need a Xiao main to tell me how good or not good he is. But he really wasn't making many waves without Cloud Retainer, at least based on my memory. Because even Ito was making waves. It's just like, oh, you just had to play Mono Geo. I didn't really hear much about Xiao until Cloud Retainer came back. Fell asleep, I'm glad to see you put Tartaglia. Hey, what's up, Jupiter? Or Tartaglia. Tartaglia's good. Tartaglia's good. I think for now I put Xiao here. I think if people are smarter about Xiao and they can tell me why I should put Xiao higher or lower, they can tell me and I'd be willing to listen. I just don't know too much. Maybe him and Ganyu should swap. But I know how good Ganyu is, and I know Ganyu's strong. Even if she's boring, I know she's strong. I know Ganyu is strong. I just don't know his condition without Cloud Retainer too much. I know he's very strong with Cloud Retainer, but that's why I put him here. I don't know. I need to talk to a Xiaomei. Xiaomei needs to contact me. Okay, Noelle. Noelle is really good with Furina. Furina is one of the best characters in the game, so you have a tendency to probably have her. Range is great. You can swap in and out between her, and she keeps her burst. Not many people do that. She hits decently well. Very comfortable to play. I do think it depends. I think chat convinced me to definitely put her up here. I think me personally, I would put her down here, because maybe I just haven't seen more examples of her doing well. But it's not that big. Oh, shoot. It's not that big of a deal if she's up here to me. Yeah. She really needs Furina, but if she has Furina, she's very strong. And similarly, in Diluc's case, Diluc with Cloud Retainer is really strong. Pyro is a great offensive DPS element. With Cloud Retainer, he is bonkers, and that's about it. He is bonkers with Cloud Retainer. Yeah, and Pyro DPS is really strong because Furina sub DPS is really strong. That's about it. That's about it. It's weird to see him with Far. It is weird. It is weird. It is weird. Okay. We already talked about Venti. I just put him lower because mobs. Who cares? Sino. Sino is in a similar sense. He is very good if you can make him work, kind of in like a Mono Geo sense or in a Cloud Retainer sense. But those things he needs are like your Nahidas, like your Baizhus, things like that. Apparently you can play Overload with him. I have not seen Overload with him, so maybe that would skew my opinion. But I think he's very good if you can make him work, but making him work does take a bit of effort, and so I think that's why I would put him here. Speaking of making things work, we got Eula. Eula is the queen of missing your burst, but if it hits, it is very powerful. Physical does not get much love, but she's the best physical character. You can play her in other builds even if it's not physical. You can play her in Hyper Bloom because her normals hit very hard. Like, regardless of where you put her in, if you build her well, her normals are always going to be hitting hard. Even if you can't get her best DPS, you can still get really good DPS, but she does have a lot of problems. She has a lot of problems with her gameplay, but her team comps are very flexible compared to some of these other people I put here. Like, Sino has a team comp issue. Diluc has a team comp issue. She doesn't really have a team comp issue in the sense of, like, she has a bunch of teams she can be in. But, you know, she does have issues in her own kit. So I think here is fine. I had 83 crit and she didn't crit. Yeah, it do be like that. But her normals are still really strong. Do not skimp out on the normals. Do not skimp out on Dendro Eula. Okay. Kuching. Kuching is very solid. Very, very good. Decently strong. Great with Dendro. And that's it. That she's just pretty strong and good with Dendro. Pretty easy to build as well. She has free critical, so you don't need to worry too much about that. What else? Plenty of different teammates to fit with her. They need to be Dendro teammates, of course. She has to do spread or aggravate. She is restricted to spread and aggravate. And her damage isn't super crazy, but it's very, very reasonable, very acceptable. Yeah, she doesn't need 5-star supports. Nope. She does not need 5-star supports, but she is stuck in Dendro comps. Yeah, I think I'm fine with her being here. I think if there was a hard, like, crazy Kuching main that made the Kuching main's website, maybe they would convince me to put her up here. But I feel good about her putting her down here. Not down here, but it's still A-. A- is still good. This is not a bad thing. Okay, Shenhua. Shenhua is number 1, right? Number 1. Words escape me right now. She is number 1 cryo buffer. Number 1 cryo buffer. Not too hard to build. She also has some physical buffing as well. But the people that she's buffing are not normally being used. Is kind of the biggest detriment to her personally. Is she's not being used too much right now. She might be used in the future if we get some more really strong cryo characters. Maybe. That's about it though. Like that's really all there is to say about Shenhua, is that she's the best cryo buffer. and she's pretty good with a little bit of physical buffing, but there's not too much that she's buffing. But she's easy to build. You don't need a constellation. You don't need a specific weapon. You can use free-to-play stuff, and she's chilling. And yeah, that's it. Okay, cool. I don't know. Also, I don't know why I went from the top to the bottom. It should have been the other way around, but whatever. It is what it is. Maybe it's because I wanted to talk about Raiden first. We got B plus the Dia is here. The Dia. Dia, if you play her as DPS, she is not the best. If you play her as a sub DPS, she has her niches. Her best niches are with Liney Mono Pyro and Neuvillette C0, which those two are some of the strongest characters in the game. Liney needs having interruption resistance is great on Liney. He is very fragile, so he very much appreciates that, and he wants to be triple Pyro anyway. So nice teammate there, very very nice teammate there. C0 Neuvillette, one of the strongest characters in the game, even at C0. The strongest C0 Neuvillette team is Neuvillette, Dia, Raiden, and Nahida. Great choice for Neuvillette. Maybe not one of the best choices for him once he hits the C1, and maybe not as comfortable potentially as like Zhongli or whatever, right? But you know, you can use your range. You can use your whatchamacallit, dodging skills to be fine with Neuvillette, and the pyro application is great. So Dia's good. She's fine. Right in the middle, I think. Right in the middle. Dia, why? I just said why. Dia can work well with two of the best characters in the game in Liney and Neuvillette. Liney Mono Pyro. Liney's the worst part about Liney is he's very vulnerable, and Dia can help him a lot with that. So he very much appreciates Dia, and he can reach high damage thresholds specifically using Dia, and that's very specific. Like nobody else can do that for him. That's why, because nobody else can do that. If he wants a shield, he's losing a pyro character. If he he wants a shield, he's losing an Anemo. If you want to play Liney with Anemo, which is his strongest team, using Dia can help a lot with that, because she gives him interruption resistance, which can help him from getting hit. With Neuvillette, his strongest team at C0 is Dia, Raiden, and Nahida, and he's one of the strongest DPSs in the game. And him with Dia with Neuvillette C0 is a really good combination. It is a very, very nice combination. One of his better ones, too. Definitely one of his better ones. And he's the strongest character in the game. So, yeah, there's that. Sarah. Sarah is very strong for Electro teams, but the issue is you need C6. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You need C6, no matter what. And unfortunately, that's what keeps her away from being with characters like Farazen or Shenhua or Goru. Specifically Goru and Farazen, they do both have critical passives in the C6, but at least they are usable outside of C6 because they still buff their individual elements. Sarah does not buff Electro at all. She buffs raw attack. She only buffs attack in general until C6. Once she hits C6, then she gives Electro crit. But without the C6, she does not buff Electro specifically, unfortunately. So you need the C6 with her. Sarah's weird too. What a polarizing character. Sarah is like the first time we are trying this, and then they realized, oh wait, that was a bad idea. Let's make it better with Farazen, and let's make it better with Goru. Unfortunately, Sarah suffers from first character syndrome, where she was the first character of that archetype, and they made the mistakes with Sarah. Sarah is like the Zelda 1 of this archetype of characters, where Zelda 1 had a horrible map system that they never brought back and that they improved upon in the later games, but it's like, you know, they didn't think about it at the time. So they make the mistakes. I think the order a character is the less need 6 is a flaw. It's more problematic for Farazen than it is for Xingqiu. It depends. It's case by case. Because I think Xingqiu doesn't need any constellations to be good. And Farazen would definitely want her constellations more. But I get what you're saying, right? But it is also a factor to consider that there are still people getting into this game every day. So just because a character is older and more people had opportunities to get them, I wouldn't say that's a hard and fast thing. Just because people are still constantly downloading and playing this game for the first time. Yeah, I get what you're saying, but new players are joining every day, so I don't think it's a hard and fast rule. I think it is something to consider, right? I think it's something to consider, but it's not like a hard and fast rule. The Zelda 1 shade is damn accurate. Listen, I like Zelda, but not Zelda 1. Minish Cap is where it's at. That's the best Zelda game. Don't at me. That's the best Zelda game, Minish Cap. Y'all don't know about Minish Cap. Where was I? I think I finished row A minus. Yeah. I feel fine. No. We were on B. We're still on B. Okay. Rosaria. Rosaria, one of the best cryo applicators. She shares critical rate. End sentence. It's not much. You can put any artifact set on her to buff the team. Any supporting weapon to buff the team. Her damage is decent too. And that's it. That's it. She's fine. She's cool. She's cool. Cryo app isn't the best thing in the world though, so best. And she has circle impact issues, but yeah, it's not that big of a deal. Zayu, Lily Pichu. Lily Pichu, she can swirl. Swirling is good. Her damage is nice if she swirls. She has a bit of healing. She's got a bit of movement. That's not a super big factor. Doesn't really need any constellations. Builds are pretty flexible. Viridescent stuff. Weapons pretty flexible. She's fine. She's just cool. She's cool. She's cool. She's fine. Heizo, pretty similar. He can do Viridescent. He can do Swirl DPS. He's a bit more damage than Sayu's, a bit more support focused. But they're both very similar. Anemo is broken. Anemo is freaking broken. Even if you're a bad Anemo character, you're a good character. Anemo is freaking broken. Diona, another jack of all trades, master of none. She can do healing. She can do cryo application. She can do shielding. She just has a lot of things she can do. You can't go wrong with putting a Diona on your team. There's definitely going to be better choices, but Diona is not really ever a bad choice. She's cool. She does a lot of things and does a lot of things well. Sayu, very distant shred healer in a single character slot, just in case you need both. Right. Exactly. And Anemo is broken. Toma. Toma is a weird character. I don't know too much about Toma. I think he can definitely go under, but it depends. I don't know. Toma, the best Bergian character, period. There is no character that's better than Bergian than him. He's got some fire applications. I think he has a shield. I'm not 100%. But yeah, what's kind of keeping him up here, he is the best Bergian character, and Bergian's a decent reaction. Yeah. That's the only thing that's keeping him up here, at least in my opinion. He is the best Bergian character, and I respect that. Yeah, it's a bit... Like, Bergian's cool. You can use it, and it's very strong. But, yeah. He's here for now. I think he can very easily go under. Very easily. But he's fine for there for now, at least in my opinion. We got Klee. We got Klee here. Klee is kind of mediocre. She is kind of mediocre damage-wise. She got some nice buffs with Furina, because Furina is an insane character, and Pyro DPS with a Hydro DPS, a Hydro sub-DPS in Furina is insane, and I think that is a factor to be considered. That's it. That's about it. She's kind of clunky to play, and a lot of people wish that her burst was off-field. Support Klee? Is that actually a build? I mean, she has a catalyst. Yeah, she's weird, and Xiangling exists, and things like that. Yeah, I think she depending, she might go down as well, but she's fine. It's not that big of a deal. Gaming. Gaming is really strong for a 4-star DPS. He's very powerful. Plunges are nice. He has quite a few teams he can go into. Really, really strong with Cloud Retainer, especially because he's plunging focused. Yeah, he's just really strong. He's just good and he's strong. He's good and he's strong. That's about it. Maybe if you want to organize it in the tier, maybe he would be like a little bit higher up. But I'm not organizing mid tier because that's too much of a headache. But he good. Dia. Oh my gosh. I was looking at Dia. Beidou. Beidou is awesome. Beidou has a nice shield. She has a very strong burst. The only issue is there might be better options than Beidou, and you need at least 2 enemies to activate her burst, because the lightning bounces between enemies. If there's no enemy to bounce between, then you're not getting anything out of it. So I think here is fine. Very strong burst. Sometimes can be difficult to build her because you need to build her with a lot of recharge. She does not gain particles very easily. You need to get perfect counters. So you're probably battering her most of the times. And she needs damage while having a little bit more like recharge stats. So a little bit more difficult to build. But she's great. Yeah, shield's good. And I don't know how good Overload is with her. I've never tested it, but maybe she's good with Overload. I don't know. Overload's always an option. Has the same issue as Venti, where it's not good against bosses. Yeah, unless it's like a duo boss, right? Unless it's like a whatchamacallit, like a triple Kenki, right? Triple Kenki situation, she's killing it, but that's few and far between, right? That's few and far between. Um, yeah. And here we got Dendro Traveler. This is representing Dendro Traveler because she got the flower. Dendro is good. Dendro Traveler is available to everybody. Not too hard to build. Good Dendro application. Very good E skill. Very great burst. Decently strong. Best Traveler. Fantastic. Depending, maybe I might put them up here on some days because of how good Dendro is. But yeah, I think this is a suitable place for her. This is a suitable place. Alright, breaking it down to B here. Yanfei. Yanfei is a perfectly acceptable 4-star Pyro DPS. You can also play Tank Fei with her shield. That's it. Yeah, she's pretty good. But I don't think anything super crazy, or she provides anything very unique like Sarah C6 or something like that. So I think she's fine here. Layla, second strongest shield in the game. Decent cryo application. There you go. She does those two jobs pretty well, and that's it. Fremine. Fremine is a very solid physical and cryo DPS. His numbers are actually quite good. You don't necessarily need constellations, but constellations make him stronger. But 4-star DPSs in general are not the strongest. But he's fine. He's fine. Yeah. Kaya. Kaya, arguably one of the better cryo applicators. Damage can be pretty good. Really hard to get constellations on him. But, yeah, he's pretty solid. I don't know, chat was convincing me to put him up here. I think me personally, I would put him down here. I don't know. Maybe I would, honestly. His cryo application is good. His damage is good. But, I don't know. I guess maybe, I think I would have to see more examples of Kaya before I would put him up there personally. I think I just need to see more examples of it. But he can do his job really well if you let him do his job. Especially if Cryo can get better. If Cryo gets better with time, Kaya will get better. Mika. Mika is a physical buffer. Physical's not very good. He also has weird things about him. Apparently, if you switch off the character you switch to with Mika, you lose his physical buffing buff. And that's really weird because Eula wants to switch off to activate her burst. So, why? Okay. Next is he also buffs attack speed, so that's pretty cool. And he also heals a little bit, so that's cool. Pole armor is not the best supporting weapon, but it's not the worst supporting weapon. It's just kind of fine, so he's just kind of fine. Albedo. Albedo has decent sub DPS, and he can buff EM a little bit, and that's a little bit of things, but it's not the best things, and so he's here. I think that's perfectly acceptable for him to be here. Barbara, great free-to-play option if you want to do Bloom stuff, or Hyper Bloom stuff, or some maybe if you need the bare minimum for Ayaka freeze and things like that. She is there if you do not have the better options, but she is always there for you, which is good. Lynette. Lynette, Anemo is broken. She can apply Anemo pretty nicely. Her burst is decent. Her taunt is decent. She is decent. She's just pretty decent. That's about it. Anemo is broken. Moving on. We got Charlotte here. Charlotte has team-wide healing, which is very, very strong with Furina. Her particle generation is fantastic. You can get two quick particles depending on how you play her, I think. That's about it. She's good at applying cryo. She's good at getting particles. She does a team-wide heal, which helps Furina, which is one of the strongest characters in the game. She's just very solid. Kirara. Same type of situation, actually. Kirara has an okay shield. She has some good Dendro application. She has decent particle application. She has decent particles. Decently easy to build. She actually has a very strong burst. Out of all the 4-star DPSs, I think she has one of the strongest 4-star bursts. Those numbers are crazy. Not many people use it or know about it, but it's actually quite strong. But she's nothing that insane about her. She's fine. Ningguang. Ningguang is an okay 4-star DPS. Navia existing makes her better. That's it. She can do some decent Geo DPS. Geo DPS gets a little bit better. We got Chiori now. Maybe she could go down, but she's decent. She's decent, and she can buff Geo. That's pretty cool. Mona. Mona is a bit on the mediocre side. She has a very strong debuff. That debuff does not last very long. It takes a while to get that debuff back. That's it. That's all she's really doing. Sometimes you can use her for Hydra application for things like Ayaka, but not all the time, and that's why she's here. She's just kind of fine. She's just kind of fine, and yeah, it's just the thing that she's fine at doesn't last very long. We got Colette here. Colette, Dendro is great. She's okay at applying Dendro, but it's not as good as Dendro MC, and definitely not as good as YaoYao. She can be a bit more offensive for, like, I think spread maybe. But she may need some constellations for that. That's why I personally put her underneath Dendro Traveler. But I don't know. Maybe if I see more examples of Colette, I would maybe put her higher. But I think here is fine for Colette. I think here is perfectly fine for Colette. Yeah, that's the B tier. That's all the B tiers, and we're still at B. B is still a good number, by the way. Letter, whatever. C plus. We got Lisa here. Lisa has a tiny little niche. She has universal defense shred with her burst. Her burst is a decent electro burst, and that's it. It's just kind of decent. Those two things are decent. That's it. That's all she really is doing. Kaya already talked about. Off-field cryo application is nice, and if cryo gets better, he would get better. But I think here is fine. Razor is weird. Razor can be very strong, but you need specific things to make him strong, like C6 Bennett, like a good Dendro applicator like Furina, like a good Hydro, like Furina. I mean, yeah, Dendro Navia. I mean, Dendro Nahida, Hydro Furina. And then you can make it work. Where is female MC? She's Dendro MC right here. She represents Dendro MC. We might as well talk about him. This is Geo MC. Geo MC, sometimes you need a Geo, and he's a perfectly acceptable Geo character. He has free critical when he activates his burst, and he's pretty flexible and easy to play, and that's pretty decent. That's pretty fine. My laptop died halfway through the stream. I didn't know. Oh, okay, no problem. Yeah, so the Travelers, Lumine represents Dendro Traveler, and Geo represents, male Traveler represents Geo. If I put Electro and Hydro in slots, it would be either C, I think. I think C, and maybe Electro would be C+, but they're nothing of note that I wouldn't say anything about them. They're nothing of note that I would say anything about them. Yeah. So, Razor's weird. If you have very specific combinations of characters, you can make him very strong, but they are very specific combinations like C6 Bennett and Furina and Nahida, but they're not super uncommon, so you could definitely make it work, but people are not doing that too often, so not many people know Razor's potential, but he definitely has potential unleashed. Yunjin buffs normal attacks. It's neat. Not everybody wants her, even the characters that do normal attacks, like, Ayato. She's fine with, like, things like Ayato, but he doesn't necessarily use her, so she's down here. What she does is fine, it's just that not many people are using her. So, yeah. Maybe she could go up here. Maybe, but it's just really not many people are using her. We got Dory. Dory's kind of in the same situation. What she does can be good. Healing is good. Giving recharge to teammates are good. It's just that other characters do that better. Raiden, Fischl, Miko, etc. are better at giving recharge. There are significantly better healers than her. She's Claymore, which is not the best supporting weapon, and that's it. That's about it. It's just that there's just so many better options than Dory, but she still provides healing and recharge, which are two very decent things. So she's here. We got Kaveh. Kaveh makes stronger blooms. He even amplifies Nilou's blooms. The only problem is he's really freaking slow. Why did they make this character Claymore? If he was Catalyst, unironically, he would be great because he makes blooms stronger. Why is he Claymore? Why did they make him Claymore? That is the most Catalyst type of attribute I've ever heard, and then they made him Claymore. They've ruined him by making him Claymore. Yeah, that's it. He can do a very niche thing, and it is a useful thing, but he's Claymore, so it's not that useful. Chongyun. Chongyun has cryo application, and he has attack speed, and those things are positive things. Nobody really uses it, but those are two positive things. So here he is. That's it. I believe Jujin is the best support for Yoimiya too. Right, but the thing with Yoimiya is if you're doing Yoimiya, you're probably doing Yoimiya, Hydro, Anemo, and Bennett, which is like not really a spot for Yunjin there. That's the thing. It's like commonly people are taking double Pyro, Anemo, Hydro. There's not really a spot for Yunjin in there, unfortunately. But she is good with Yunjin. She is good with Yunjin. It's just not many people are using her. That's why I said that maybe she can go up here, maybe. But it's weird. Candace is also like these two, where she does something specific. She gives you Hydra application. Not many people are doing that, but that is at least something unique that nobody else can do, is the Hydra application. And that's it. That is it. She gives Hydra application. Not many other people give Hydra application. You could use it for some stuff, but not many people actively are using it for some stuff. So that's why she's here. Okay. And that's the C tier. C tier is kind of characters that do something unique, but nobody is really using that unique thing. Okay, and then finally, well, not finally, second to finally, we got the D tier here. The D tier, Xinyan. Xinyan is here. She has a shield that's very wonky. It needs to hit 3 enemies to have maximum power. Even at maximum power, it's not that good. It gets a bit better with constellations, but that is a point against her. Her damage is low, and it's kind of weird. And yeah, she is not the best. She is just not the best, and that's just how it is, unfortunately. They've never really done anything else to improve her. It's just she has a mediocre shield, and she attacks in a weird way. That's it. Chi-Chi. I know a lot of people put Chi-Chi a little bit higher up, but I think if I'm realistically thinking about it, she is not adding anything unique. And she cannot make particles. I think that's the biggest detriment, in my opinion, is you are using up a slot to put Chi-Chi there, and she doesn't do anything over at another character, like let's say Diona, for example, and she makes 0 particles. 0 particles. There are much better healers than her. They are much better cryo applicators than her. Cryo application is not even that good in general, and if you want to get her good heals, you need to stay on field and attack a normal enemy if you're not using the burst, and that is not good. So unfortunately, yeah, she ain't that good. Amber, prototype Amber. She's not that good either, unfortunately. Horrendously low pyro application. Her burst does ignore internal cooldown, so you can proc a lot of reactions, but it's very tiny. It's very small, and it doesn't really do that much anyway, so never encourage really to do that, and it's not a unique thing. Pyro application is done much better by Xiangling that everybody gets for free, so yeah, no, she is not good. And finally, to wrap it up, we got everybody's least favorite character, or everybody's favorite character depending on your persuasion. We got Aloy here. She's also not good. She's like Yoimiya but worse, because she needs to build up towards her cryo arrows, and those cryo arrows are not that good. And like I've said constantly, cryo is not the best element right now. And then it's frustrating the player. And then at best, she's okay against single target and then suffers against multi-target. So it's like, why? It's just like, why at the end of the day? But that's Aloy. Yeah. All right, and that is the list. Arlen Shino's here. I don't know what she does because I don't look up leaks. But you know what? I'm gonna make a prediction. I'm putting Arlenchino right here. I'm gonna put her right there in S. I'm making a prediction. Nobody tell me what she does. No leaks. No leaks. This is just a prediction because I saw her icon and I'm gonna put her there. I'm gonna put her there. F tier. Oh yeah, also F tier is here. I forgot to say that. So F tier exists. F tier represents a character that is useless that you could never use to clear content, but no characters like that exist in Genshin. So the tier is there, but nobody's in it, just to exemplify that point. Because if you look at the list, it skews very heavily towards the higher tiers, which I think is really good. Because it's just like S, and when you really think about it, S got divided. But if this was gonna be a normal tier list, right? S would be together, and all the A's would be together. So you could also consider S as one big clump, and A through A minus as one big clump as well. So most of the characters are skewing towards the top, which is what Genshin is. Genshin is a game where most of these characters are very viable. Like, out of all the characters, I would say everybody on this screen right now is extremely viable, and people play them constantly. I think everybody underneath the screen is like, sometimes people will play them, but it depends on their persuasion, right? And then the bottom is like, people still can play them. You can if you want to, but it's the choice that you are making for yourself to do that. But yeah, I think that exemplifies Genshin in the best way. Is like, you can really play anybody. Everybody is like really strong. The people towards the top are like insanely strong, especially the S pluses. The S pluses define this game's metas and things like that, in a really insane way. But you can use so many characters. I think at the end of the day, is the argument I'm trying to make is that there are so many characters in this game, and there are so many good characters in this game, and you really do have your pick on like what you want to build, which is great. Yo, just Smiley, thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. Thank you. But yeah, there you go. That is my tier list for version 4.5. Thank you for participating. I appreciate it. And we'll see what happens in 4.6. Maybe Arlenchino will be right here. Or here. Or maybe all the way down here. Dude, people would like explode if she was that bad. Could you imagine if she was like a bad character? People would freaking people would like go crazy if she was a bad character.